The final battle begins. Yhwach has ascended to the royal palace. Can Ichigo protect all worlds, or will everything be destroyed? Let's recap everything from Bleach Thousand-Year Blood War, Part 3. The season continues right after Senjumaru releases her Bankai, creating an immense tapestry that enfolds the Schutzstaffel. Senjumaru prepares to finish them. At the same time, Ichibē activates his Bankai, rewriting Yhwach's very existence. With relentless force, Ichibē crushes him and casts him down from the palace, leaving Yhwach seemingly defeated. But Yhwach suddenly opens his eyes, revealing the activation of the Almighty. With the power to see and reshape every possible future, he undoes Ichibē's power and reverses his defeat, striking Ichibē down with overwhelming might. Meanwhile, Ishida activates his Shrift, reversing Senjumaru's Bankai against her and finishing her off. The Royal Guard's hold collapses, and Yhwach's elites rise once more. Yhwach declares the fall of the Royal Guard and begins his advance toward the Soul King's palace. Ichigo and his friends finally arrive on the battlefield, only to witness the devastation and the fallen Royal Guard. Calling Ichibē by his name revives him, and he names Ichigo humanity's final hope against Yhwach. Finally, Yhwach impales the Soul King, revealing himself as the Soul King's own son. The foundations of all worlds tremble as balance begins to collapse. At the Soul King's palace, Ichigo and his friends confront Yhwach. Ichigo charges in, unleashing his dual Zangetsu. A fierce battle erupts, and Ichigo's speed and power overwhelm Yhwach at first, landing several direct strikes. But Yhwach's almighty soon overpowers him. Orihime supports by instantly healing his wounds, allowing Ichigo to maintain pressure. Ichigo attacks again, and Yoriichi attacks with a surprise assault, but Yhwach quickly blocks her strike. Yhwach then exploits Ichigo's Quincy heritage. Forcing Ichigo to withdraw his blade, Yhwach uses his blood to seize control of Ichigo's body. Powerless, Ichigo is compelled to swing his sword and deliver the final blow that splits the Soul King in two, and the collapse of the three realms accelerates. Enraged, Ichigo lashes out at Yhwach but is easily pushed aside. Orihime desperately tries to reverse the destruction with Soten Kishin, but her power fails. In a short flashback, Ukitake, as a child, suffered from a lung disease. His parents prayed to Mimihagi, who took his lungs and prolonged his life at the cost of his health. In the present, Ukitake steps forward and accepts his fate. He performs a ritual, offering his body and soul to Mimihagi. Shadows consume him as he becomes the new linchpin, temporarily halting the destruction and sealing the fractures. Even Yhwach is shocked. His almighty did not foresee this future. However, he dismisses it as meaningless against his power and strikes at the right arm. Ichigo and his allies seize the chance. Yoriichi places spiritual talismans to reinforce the barrier around the fragmented remains of the Soul King. But suddenly, Ishida appears at Yhwach's side. With cold determination, he fires an arrow that pierces Yoriichi's defenses, shattering her barrier and grievously wounding her. Ichigo, torn between anger and disbelief, rushes to confront Ishida. They clash fiercely, blade against arrow, as Ichigo desperately demands to know why. Ishida remains unwavering, declaring that as a Quincy he must side with Yhwach. He activates his Vollständig, radiating overwhelming power, and his attacks push Ichigo back. Exploiting Ichigo's hesitation to strike his former comrade, Ishida lands a crushing arrow that blasts him into the abyss below. Meanwhile, Orihime, Chad, and Ganju face the elite guard. With Ganju's ingenuity, Orihime supports by his shield, and Chad's strength, they hold the line for a time. But once the Quincy's activate their Vollständig, the group is overwhelmed. Finally, Yhwach overpowers the Soul King and begins to absorb its essence. Kyoraku takes a desperate measure, descending into Muken to confront Aizen. He unseals Aizen's left eye and ankle. Ask for help. Aizen mocks him but agrees, noting Yhwach's world would be as oppressive as a prison. With limited freedom, Aizen joins the coming conflict. After absorbing the Soul King, Yhwach unleashes a massive torrent of black reishi, descending from the royal palace towards Siraitai. The exhausted Gotei 13 try to resist, but their Zanpakuto and Kido prove useless against the overwhelming force threatening to engulf Soul Society and destabilize the worlds. Amid the chaos, Kyoraku reveals his final move, releasing Aizen from Muken. Even still bound to his chair, Aizen's spiritual pressure alone shatters the torrent with ease. With a simple release of Reiatsu, he destroys the mass, demonstrating that only a transcendent being like him can confront this power. The captains are angry at Kyoraku for releasing Aizen, but Kyoraku says his pride won't save the world. The betrayed Quincy's, angered by Yhwach's betrayal, realized his goal was world domination, not Quincy salvation. Stripped of power, they joined the Gotei 13, sharing knowledge and abilities in a tense, temporary alliance. Together, the Soul Reapers and the betrayed Quincy's prepared to fight Yhwach. The Soul Reapers to save the worlds, the Quincy's for revenge and survival. Meanwhile, Orihime heals Ichigo and the others' wounds. Yoruichi, fully recovered, declares that they must counterattack quickly before the worlds collapse. With no clear way back to the palace, a Garganta opens, from which Grimmjow emerges, joined by Nell. Fullbringers Ruruka and Yukio also arrive, using their powers to transport the group directly to Vahrwelt, bypassing enemy defenses. Back in the Seraite, the remaining Soul Reapers gather spiritual pressure to open their own gate. Mutated by the Soul King's power, Yhwach's upper body is covered in multiple black eyes as he becomes the omnipotent, holy newborn. Meanwhile, he transforms the Soul King's realm into his fortress, Vahrwelt, rising over the Seraite. Seated on his new throne, he outlines his vision of a world without the fear of death. Ichigo and his friends traverse the vast royal realm toward Vahrwelt, only to be confronted by Askin. Grimmjow rushes after him, and after catching up, Grimmjow gets seemingly defeated, but Ichigo arrives in time. Meanwhile, Lille fires on the arriving Soul Reapers, scattering them and showing the elite force's overwhelming power. Renji confronts Ishida, attacking with his perfected Bankai. Ishida counters with precise reishi arrows and Kyoraku, then activates his Vollständig. Renji uses his ultimate Bankai, but Ishida withstands it, and pierces Renji's chest with a powerful reishi arrow. Zaraki, Mayuri, Nemu, and his squad face Pernida. Kenpachi strikes, but Pernida's compulsory ability snaps his arm, forcing him to tear it off. Mayuri pierces Kenpachi and starts analyzing Pernida. Pernida transforms into a left arm, revealing it is the Soul King's left arm. Pernida attacks with compulsory and massive fingers, but Mayuri dodges using his inventions and taunts it. He unleashes his modified Bankai that devours the arm, seemingly defeating it, but the left arm's nerve-like tendrils burst out from inside and destroy the Bankai. A short flashback shows Mayuri creating Nemu No. 7, his evolving masterpiece. Though Nemu is hurt, he wasn't called No. 7. Akon reassures her that she is Mayuri's pride. When the left hand strikes, Nemu saves Mayuri, defies his orders, and blasts the left hand, which quickly regenerates, kills Nemu, and consumes her. Pernida then initiates a self-destruction. Though victorious, Mayuri is left with only a fragment of Nemu's brain. Mayuri then resurrects fallen captains, including Toshiro and Rangiku, partially restoring the Gotei 13. Kyoraku realizes he cannot defeat Lille from afar, so he uses his Shikai, turning children's games into deadly reality. Using Kajioni, he counters, but Lille strikes his shadow, forcing constant movement. Lille activates Vollständig, injuring Kyoraku. Seeing Shikai isn't enough, Kyoraku unleashes his Bankai. First, wounds are shared. Second, Lille erupts with bleeding black spots. Third, invisible water overwhelms him. Fourth, threads coil around and crush his head. Lille grotesquely transforms into a serpentine neck with an owl-like head, declaring he will punish Kyoraku. Kyoraku is shot, escapes, and faints. Nanao arrives, and Kyoraku reveals the East Clan secret, a curse on its women and the sacred Zanpakuto, Shinken Hakyoken, capable of reflecting godlike power. Hesitant but resolute, Nanao accepts it. In the final clash, Lille fires a massive light column. Nanao is knocked back, but with Kyoraku's support, she aims with the Shinken Hakyoken. The sword reflects the attack, shredding Lille's body and scattering his soul across Seraite. Bazz-B and Hashwalth face off in a final duel. Bazz-B attacks with Burner Finger, but Hashwalth counters with the Balance. A flashback shows their bond. Bazz-B trained with Jugo after Yhwach destroyed his clan. They forged a brotherly partnership and vowed to one day kill Yhwach. But Yhwach recognized Jugo's rare ability to redistribute fortune and misfortune. Back in the present, Bazz-B makes a final attack, but Hashwalth finish him. As Bazz-B collapses, a mix of sorrow and satisfy on his face. After Ichigo is defeated by Askin, Orihime and Chad rush to help him, but they too are quickly overwhelmed by Askin's ability, which amplifies any poison or substance in the environment to lethal levels. Just as all seems lost, Yoruichi arrives. She immediately assesses Askin's powers and engages him in a lightning-fast battle, using her full-body Shunko to keep him off balance. While Askin recovers, Yoruichi rescues Ichigo, Orihime, and Chad. Orihime heals them, and the group continues toward Yhwach. Yushiro then appears and attempts to assist with his own Shunko, Bakuen Muso. His attack initially seems effective, but Askin quickly neutralizes it, defeats Yushiro, and Yoruichi retreats with her brother. Meanwhile, Gerard descends upon the allied Shinigamis. Renji, now healed by the Visoreds, launches an attack but is blocked. The Shinigamis coordinate their strikes and at first seem to have defeated him, but Gerard's miracle ability turns every injury into greater strength and size. He grows into a towering giant, mocking their despair. Despite multiple assaults, their attacks have no effect, and they are all defeated until the Visoreds arrive. Ruruka and Yukio return to Seratai, where chaos erupts as Lille's fragmented soul falls from the sky, and finally Kira appears. The season ends at Vahrwelt in a tense side scene. Hashwalth confronts Ishida. As the only Quincy to survive the Auswählen, Ishida now holds a unique position with Yhwach, who has named him successor. Hashwalth, eyes glowing with the power of the Almighty, tests Ishida's loyalty, demanding he prove his devotion by killing Ichigo and his friends. For one last time, Ichigo and Ishida clash, but it ends quickly. Ishida gave the Sun Gate key, allowing Ichigo, Orihime, and Chad to escape. He explains he never betrayed them and has been secretly plotting against Yhwach from within. Just then, Hashwalth arrives and reveals he has closed the gate that leads back to the living world. Ishida reveals to Ichigo that Yhwach is currently asleep, with Hashwalth holding the Almighty, creating a rare chance to strike at the Quincy King. He tells Ichigo to defeat Yhwach while he fights Hashwalth. If you want more recaps like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what anime you want to see next.